Ladies and gentlemen, good morning and good afternoon, depending on where you're based. As always, today with us we have someone who I think is one of the greatest minds of the 21st century. Uh, he specializes in a series of things, and he might not be extremely well known to some of you, but he is extremely well known to some others. Dr. Ivan Spasojević from the University of Belgrade, the Institute of Multidisciplinary Research, where he acts as a research professor for the past 18 years and 9 months. Excuse me. Concurrently, he served as the head of department up until 2020. But most importantly, he's the founder of LIQUID3. Now, for those of you that don't know, LIQUID3 is Serbian urban innovation led by Dr. Ivan. It's a project that creates a smart urban photosynthesis device using microalgae and basically absorbs carbon dioxide and produces oxygen. Now, Dr. Ivan should be joining us shortly. We'll take it from there and see what happens. Just a small note I forgot to mention previously, LIQUID3 was just placed in a municipality. I believe it was Abu Dhabi or Qatar, uh, as well as some municipalities in Serbia. We'll get more info on it shortly. But I just wanted to flag that there are, in fact, some municipalities outside the European Union, per se, that have started using microalgae. Professor, thank you so much for joining. It's a huge honor of mine to have you on this. It's an introductory channel. I'm just trying to, help people expand their mind a little bit and get some insight into some of the great things that are happening outside the world. I've gone ahead and introduced you, but the floor is yours. I'd like you to spend a couple of minutes and introduce yourself and what you do.
Okay, so my name is Ivan Spasojević. I'm a research professor at the University of Belgrade Institute for Multidisciplinary Research, and I lead a group of about 10 researchers. We are mainly investigating microalgae, usually their relations with their environment, so how they respond to different pollutants such as heavy metals, or their capacity to produce lipids, which can be used as biodiesel. And I'm here because of the LIQUID3. So LIQUID3 is our invention. We made the prototype in 2021. It's basically urban photobioreactor. It is meant to clean air in urban areas that cannot accommodate sufficient amounts of traditional greenery. We developed this through support of UN development program in Serbia. It was a small project. Luckily, I work at a truly multidisciplinary institute, so we have people for different areas, and we have an architect in our team. So, in addition to just using microalgae to clean the air, to remove carbon dioxide, produce oxygen, we also had an opportunity to develop a design that is appealing, that fits nice into the urban environment. And because of that, basically, we have this conversation. As a result of that, because if, for example, if it was just for myself, I would choose only function, and basically it would be like a brick full of microalgae in the street, and it would get broken in 2 months. But with a good design and with additional functions such as street furniture, USB charger, you get a response that is more positive and more accepting from the public. And when you have that, and when you maintain your installation, just a regular once a month maintenance, then there is no basically there is no damage. People will not uh, uh, damage something that is useful and looking good. So that's a good combination. So from my background, I finished molecular biology and I have PhD in biophysics. I mainly worked with the metabolism of metals, free radicals. But at one point, I chose my team, my colleagues. We chose microalgae as a model because it's very rewarding. It's easy to maintain. They're unicellular, so there are no organs, no complex responses such as in plants. For example, if you are examining plants, there are completely different responses in roots, in leaves, in stem. So this is a relatively simple system, and it has all these potential uses and relevancies. So microalgae produce about 50% of air that we breathe. They are very important part of any ecosystem. They are main biomass producers in addition to plants. And on the other hand, they are also used in biotech. You can produce biodiesel, you can produce different products. They can be grown on marginal lands. So, for example, in the desert, you can grow microalgae in the desert because basically they are growing, you grow it for example, in the pond of seawater. So they are very rewarding, and we are very lucky to go that way.
I was just recently, I think I was looking at some of the news because I'm a big follower. And I think you guys implemented LIQUID3 in a municipality in the Middle East somewhere. I don't remember the country. I wasn't too sure about it.
Yes, since last December, we have a startup company, and until at the end of the last year, we worked from the university, and that goes very slow because basically university don't have any focus on selling things. Usually, it's education, intellectual property, and so we have 6 units so far, 3 in Serbia, two in Uzbekistan, and 1 in Qatar. And a company there bought one to show, just to see how the market would respond. They show it on an fair, and after that, it is installed in the city center of Doha, which is the capital of Qatar, and it operates nice. So we use microalgae that are fine with temperatures of up to 45 degrees Celsius. We also have strains that like higher temperatures, so they are thermophilic microalgae. They like being on 50. And in Qatar, 45, it's easy to get there. You can go
It's
well
a
beyond
cold day, yeah.
So far they are fine, but it is important to understand that this is placed in the city that already doesn't have a full-blown desert climate. It's a different thing if you are completely open. For example, you are building a new complex and you're putting the LIQUID3 there. There will be a challenge. In the city center, there is still some control of the climate. So I believe that it is not too frequently 55 in that part of Doha. So far they're working. It's working good.
I want to ask a question about that, and then we'll shift into the science of it. Have you faced, because I mean you're in Serbia, I'm in Greece, the Balkan operates in a different way. We all know that, but how was it perceived by civil society? Was it accepted? Was it liked? Was it something that municipalities wanted to test and do? Or did you see more success in Doha, for example, or Uzbekistan?
So we got a lot of interest. Initially, basically UNDP, which supported, so it's UN Development Program. They made a good video initially. They broadcast it on their channel, and then it started. We were completely stunned by the interest. So far, we were in all media multiple times in Serbia. We were in Slovenian TV, national TV station. We were in Die Zeit, which is the main weekly paper in Germany. We were also in Newsweek. So I think every third American, for example, at some point saw LIQUID3, and we didn't pay a dime for it. It's only interest. Particularly, basically, there was important interest from YouTubers and from Instagram influencers. So basically, they are more important than the media. But we are proud of this. So, it's like a national TV is showing pretty much, which is also a weekly paper in France. So recently, we were in Sky News. So a lot of interest, all spontaneous, and all responses were good. We also induced a lot of public debate about alternative concepts of graining. So LIQUID3, it's not the only possibility that you can do. If you have a limited space, you cannot put a tree. There are other options. So you can use other nature-based solutions, maybe there are like some moss system that uses moss, or for example, if you have some pond or a lake, you can build literally a floating island made of greenery. So people are doing different things, and it's important to discuss this. And also, it raised awareness of people about the air pollution. And this is something that we are particularly proud of. So the interest in Serbian society is huge. We get a lot of emails. We have been contacted so far by about 500 companies and entrepreneurs, so all over the world.
Right.
And a lot of them from Middle East, a lot of them from Europe, a lot of them, of course, from Serbia. And so far, the best approach is not for the municipality to install it, but to have like some mutual interest from municipality and some, for example, bank or some financially stronger entity that would like to promote, and then they find a common place.
So public-private partnership mostly. Okay.
Yes, something like that show to be the most. In Doha, it's the same thing. So it's a private company that basically donated 1 unit to a municipality in Doha, and that is the best approach so far. But of course, municipalities are interested. They would like to, to show that they are doing something about the pollution. Of course, the right thing to do is to put a tree and to decrease the emission. That is even better. But LIQUID3 was developed, and I'm a biologist. I like trees very much. That is one, for example, one part of the discussion. They would like to replace trees. So that's like a bit silly idea, basically, because it's completely impossible to replace trees with something that you have to build of steel and glass, and the tree you have just to put it into ground. But the thing is, you need greenery all over the city. So there are studies showing that the prospects and then the economic development, quality of life in a city depends on the even distribution of greenery. So you cannot compensate concrete in the center by making a large forest in the peripheral areas of the city. It's good, of course, to have. It is important to have it all over the city. So if you have, for example, you have a pedestrian area, city planners won't let you put a tree there because they want to use the space as much as possible. They would like to have a clear view down the area, but they need benches, and you can put a tree and you can liquid tree and you can have a bench and tree all in one. So that's the idea. The idea is not to replace traditional greenery, just to supplement it. So that's the key.
Let me ask you, because you mentioned trees a lot. How does LIQUID3, I'm not going to say perform, but how does it compare to trees in terms of both CO2 absorption and oxygen production?
So it's literally equivalent to one adult tree in urban area, like 20 years old tree. But LIQUID3, as I mentioned, you can put it in some areas that you cannot place a regular tree. That's one thing. The other thing, it has other functions, of course. Of course, tree, for example, makes shades and it makes home to birds, and LIQUID3 does not. The good sides of LIQUID3 is also it cleans air from PM particles. So we measure the amount of heavy metals that it trapped during 1 month, and we clean about 3,000 cubic meters of air. It depends on the metal, some more, some less, but between 300 and 3,000. So let's say that's our range. And it also produces useful products. So the biomass that you produce during the cycle, you can use to fertilize a real tree or a lawn. For example, in the Middle East, they like it when you underline that you can use the water twice. You can use it first for the liquid tree and after that for the real tree. And people are usually asking, so you are trapping these heavy metals and now you want to water a tree, but that is a matter of scale. So if you remove like a microgram of cadmium from air, you did a very good thing for human health. But if you put 1 microgram of cadmium into soil, it's nothing because there is already naturally present heavy metals in the soil, and it's just a different scale. It's like 3 orders of magnitude different. So you won't do nothing to the soil, but you will do a lot for the quality of air. So LIQUID3 is also the good things. You can put it inside. You can put it in the metro station. Microalgae really like carbon dioxide. They can live at very high concentrations. Basically, if you grow them commercially, you will put carbon dioxide from the bottle directly into microalgae in order to burst their growth. And the strain that we are using, it's very resistant to pollution. So you can install it in a mall, in a garage, in a metro station, where you have a huge amount of PM particles in the air and a lot of carbon dioxide, and they just don't mind. They will grow. For example, the tree that we have is the first one was installed in the most polluted, basically part of Belgrade, and we are very frequently world leaders when it comes to, and this system works without any filter. So everything from the air goes directly into microalgae, and they are growing without any issue.
So I was going to ask if there's any difference between pollution spikes or not, but it sounds like they are completely self-sustaining no matter the situation.
Yes, we didn't see any problems with the pollution. What happens from time to time is that you have to restart your culture. Usually it takes like year, 1.5 years of growth. And usually what happens is that algae from air, like there are some strain, basically these are not they are like cyanobacteria. So a competition from air goes into the system and prevails, are good algae. So you have to remove everything and start again. But again, it's a very simple procedure. You just replace all the water. It's not a big deal. So there is like a biological competition. When it comes to pollution, there are no issues.
Is Liquid3 for you something that shows that we have failed to protect nature in terms of, for example, trees? Or is it just the next step in human evolution in terms of how, based on the needs of humanity, we need to adapt and create more innovative things that sort of scale with us, basically?
So the amount of public interest into the Liquid3, basically, it's a bit scary because you can see how much people are worried. This project was a very small project. You know, we just built one device and placed it in a city in Balkans, and it steered interest from US. So it's not like proportional. It's completely disproportional. But that implicates a strong sense of worry about the air pollution, and people are very worried about. You know, people are running away. I know people that are escaping from the city, living in the country, and come to work in the city. And basically, that's not. It's okay for the small number of people to go in that like escapism direction. You know, you want to live with the nature, but that is very bad for the civilization because the city is the best way to live. You put a lot of people in one spot, and you have a lot of opportunities, a lot of chances to meet interesting, smart people, whatever you need. You have cultural chances, social, economic. And if we all go into the countryside, so city is the like top of our civilization, and it becomes unbearable because of the air pollution, because of the noise, because of too much hassle to live in the city. So this is when it comes to Liquid3, it's not that large step. Basically, it's a good small solution that should support the life in the cities. You know, that's the idea. So people are working on different air filters. What we need to do is to decrease the emission. But until we do that, we have to find other ways to mitigate the problem. And that one approach is using basically water filters with the living system in it. This is what is Liquid3. It's water filter with microalgae. Microalgae capture this metal. They like metals because they usually lack iron or manganese in their natural environment. So they have different ways to catch metals, and these are not very selective. So they catch also lead and cadmium, and which is good for us. But the thing is, we have to find these small solutions in order to make life bearable until a large breakthrough happens. You know, like, okay, we have electric cars, but these electric cars in Serbia, they're running on coal, you know, because we are producing electricity from coal, and electrical plants are like 50 kilometers from the city center of Belgrade. So it's probably even worse than using gasoline. But if we shift to green sources of energy, then the city will be bearable. It will be better.
Okay. Um, I can imagine LIQUID3 in what do they call smart cities to be implemented on a massive scale. My question to you is: do you think that you could potentially adapt more things into it? I think there's a charger in some of your stations, but do you think you can do things like data collection or information providing or any AI enhanced environmental sensing? Do you
Yes,
think any
so
of those could be implemented with LIQUID3?
yes, there is a lot of space within the city. So the structure is not a mask. It's a construction that is needed to carry water, glass. It's heavy. It's heavy construction. But there is a lot of space in it, and you can add additional functions and devices into it. So usually people are asking, why don't you put some like system to measure the pollution? And that is our next step. And you can also put a server, you can put a Wi-Fi source, you can integrate this in whatever you like. So there is room for it. And we have been contacted by companies that are thinking into that direction, into like maybe energy storage. That is one. So why don't we have some batteries in the street for other purposes that you can basically hide within the bench? So that is one direction. The other was, for example, people would like to put a server and use the heat of the server to maintain this device in Sweden during winter. So if you have space, you can add. So it can be integrated into the smart cities. Among that interest about LIQUID3, there were basically, I think, 5 or more current very strong initiatives about developing smart cities. For example, NEOM. You heard about NEOM in Saudi Arabia. So they were among the first one that contacted us, and just they were interested in what we are doing. It was just maybe screening of the market, but basically they are considering putting traditional greenery and alternative concepts within a city that basically should be optimized. It would be very smart. It's not smart, but like very smart city. So that's the idea.
No, I know. I used to work with the consultancies that ran these government projects, and the things you're going to do in that smart city for me is on the same level as LIQUID3. It's beyond mind blowing. So I could potentially see how you could implement it with them. Do you think it's going to be the same for the US, Europe, and other nations, or are just the Arabs innovating?
No, we are discussing this with we have basically 1 or 2 companies in all main markets currently undergoing discussion about distribution or license, and of course they would like to add for starters they would like to add advertising space. So you can brand the bench, of course you can put some advertising space on the surface, but there is a lot of interest. Uh, this is what is this may be important. So these interests are driven by a local or international initiatives to increase the sustainability. So they are not spontaneously commercial. We are looking for something to sell, but these are initiatives. For example, we have interest from Brazil because they have COP 30. And there are companies thinking in that. I don't think that they would usually think about that. For example, these are PR companies that are basically connecting large companies with some new ideas, working for example, for some industry that wouldn't think about LIQUID3, but they would like to offer them as a solution. And they're thinking about that because of that event. Or the interest in Qatar is related with their smart city. So they have like a smart green city within Doha. I think the name is Mushra. So what is important is that these initiatives, events, although I'm a bit like skeptic, and I think maybe this is just politicians, discussing something, but nothing happens. They induce local interest in sustainability, and they are, it appears to me, creating an impetus to develop in that direction. So they are. Listen, Brazil is all about greenery. Although they are cutting like half of the rainforest, because of the event, they are now considering it's important to protect the greenery, to improve sustainability. So these events are important. Although personally, before this experience, I would think these are just very slow political, processes that will not make any solutions. It appears that money works in that direction if you put some attention to it.
Okay, fair enough. We're running a little bit short on time there, so I have a few more questions for you. All right.
Please, just go there.
If you had unlimited funding and potentially political support, what is your moonshot version for LIQUID3? How far would you take it? How far do you want it to go? How far would you expand it as a project?
No, we didn't think about that large because what you see is, for example, we have all this interest, but it's very slow to convert that into reality. For example, we were discussing with the government of it's not important, Asian country, and there's some agency, and they would like to clean the air. They would like to install like 100 liquidries, and telling them, listen, these are all small systems. It's not meaningless. It's meaningless to put them all over the city just for the areas. Just plant the trees. But what we can do, we can build a large system like raceway pond with microalgae, and we can put exhaust fumes, from your source, from your thermal plant, directly into the system to clean. So that is something that I would like to do, but it's because now they are only seeing LIQUID3. They would like LIQUID3. They are not considering further on because it's a bit risky. We don't know whether this will work. There have been some attempts in Sweden, but at some point it stopped. So maybe they faced some problem. Maybe there were not enough money. So that is something that I would like to do. But basically, like large, we could do like larger projects. Maybe like a green wall with microalgae along some important route that it doesn't have traditional greenery, and a lot of people are using that space. So something like that. But we didn't. So your question is great, and I have to attend to it to think. But we didn't think beyond imagination. We were just we are now trying to start with this startup company, and it's very interesting because I have a business consultant in the team. We have an architect, we have a biotech engineer. Everything is fine. But when you start a startup company, a lot of things fall on people on you, basically. So I'm doing the export. I don't know anything about export. So today I read local regulations how to export LIQUID3 to Hungary. They bought one, and we now have to see how to export. So that it's day-to-day things. But I would like to do some custom-made job, like a huge green wall in a mall, for example, or in a metro station. So that would be good.
Well, I was thinking it on a massive scale. That's kind of how I asked it. And you mentioned electrical cars before, and I was thinking maybe the equivalent of a gigafactory or a mega factory, but for LIQUID3. A pond makes more sense. So that would be interesting. It'd be interesting to see you do it on a mass scale.
No, you can do it, and it's still. So we, as a matter of fact, we consider to do it in Greece. We were a part of a project. It's within. We applied to some EU funding. A lot of members of the consortium, a couple of them from Greece, and the idea is in 3 cities in Europe, they have like a heat island, so poorly attended the spaces with the lack of greenery. And we wanted to make like a custom-made system that would be a pond, but still a good design, easy to maintain, which is very important. And then we can test the efficiency, and so LIQUID3 is like 600 liters, and the system would be like 10,000 liters. So that was the idea, to improve the impact, to have more
Can
of
I
of
ask
an.
why didn't it work out? What happened and
No,
it
no,
didn't
we,
work
we
out?
were just under the line. So we, for example, 13.5 points was enough to go into the funding, and we were 13. So it's not. We will start try again. I think with a similar just a bit of furnishing and maybe try again. So it's.
If a municipality wants to install a LIQUID3 plant, what you guys have, rather than, let's say, for example, just benches or smart benches, it wants to install a LIQUID3 bench slash sort of microalgae. What is the cost of it?
So currently it's fluid, basically, because we have a very small production in Serbia. So we sell it for about 20,000 euros. And I understand it's a bit high, but everything is made manually. We have two small companies as subcontractors, and a lot of material goes into it. So it's very heavy. You have a very strong metal construction, very thick glass in order to survive in the streets. So our current idea is to go into serial production, and basically we are looking for partners that would like to produce it serially for a local region. Because transport is also, you're generating carbon instead of removing carbon. So the idea is for any distant market, for example, Middle East, Brazil, US, to have a local partner that would be either buying huge amount at once and decrease the amount of carbon that we are emitting by transporting, or have a local production. So if we go into the goal is to go, I guess, below 15, maybe 10,000 euros per piece, and that is competitive with smart benches. So smart benches are, it depends, but they can be 15,000 euros, literally.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that is the idea, to be competitive. What is important about LIQUID3 is also it's made of glass and steel. You can recycle basically everything. It's 99% you can recycle. There is no plastic. There are some electrical components that they don't make much of that mess, so it's
What
recyclable.
about its maintenance cost?
They are very low. So basically, what you need to do is once a month you have to replace 95% of water. So as I mentioned, you can use that water biomass for other purposes, to water a lawn or a tree, and the biomass works the biofertilizer. You have to put some minerals for microalgae. They like us, they need magnesium, iron. That costs about let's say 5 to 10 euros per maintenance, and you need one and a half working hours to do the maintenance. The process is very simple. That is why this is still the story with the prospect, with a good prospect, because it's very simple to maintain. It's not complicated to access microalgae, to remove it. It's very easy. We have basically 7 minutes training video for anyone to learn.
Just a question that popped up. Could you add a rainwater filtering system from the top and a drainage at the bottom so that when it rains, you can automatically fill it in with water and then
I think that
drain
you don't
water?
need any filter. You can use rainwater direct. So these microalgae, they are using tap water from Doha and tap water from Belgrade. From Belgrade, we have relatively good water, but a lot of limestone in it, floor.
Yeah.
I think that rainwater would be just fine. We don't need any filter, and that would be a good option. We could collect, but you need it when you replace the system. So at the point of maintenance, we discussed selling a couple of units to a company in Mallorca, and they were considering by decrease the spending of water. They wanted to, during the rainy season, to keep the rain water and to use it, and that was an option. Basically, I don't see any barrier, but if we have any doubts, we do the testing in the lab. So, for example, in Doha, we just took like a couple of liters of their local tap water, so that microalgae are growing fine, and that's it.
Okay. And my final question to you is if LIQUID3 was a message for future generations, what would you want that message to be?
Well, the point about LIQUID3, what I would like to say to people is, when you are working on something, very important thing is how we got here is multidisciplinary. So the idea is get out of your comfort zone and talk to people from other fields. Because initially it's very hard to talk even because we speak different languages. For example, I have a physicist in my team, and when they do the measurements, their standard errors like this. And if you do biological systems, our standard errors like this. And they're thinking that we are doing a bad job, but it's not. It's biological systems, they are more vibrant, they're changeable, they're not very stable. So talk to other disciplines and different things will emerge, but always have an open mind. For example, as I mentioned, if we only have biologists in our team, we wouldn't produce anything. But we had an architect and we had to discuss. Of course, architect was thinking only about the design. We are thinking about function. And then we had to think about the cost of the production. So multidisciplinarity is very important. LIQUID3 itself, as a message, is you can produce completely new things by discussing and working with people from different fields. So that is very important. For example, IT people should not talk only with IT people. They should talk to doctors. And in that way, you get softwares to discover for easy detection of early detection of diseases. You don't get it by doctors only thinking about, or it's so that is something that I also have chance to lecture on this and present to people, and I point to particularly to students to talk to people from other fields. That's very important. So also listen to the public, listen how people are responding, because people are afraid of things, although they are not very much discussed. You see the response after you, for example, in biology, usually the research goes by tackling, causing a problem to the system. If you just monitor, I don't know, a rabbit, and it's still, you won't see anything. But if rabbit faces a problem, you will see its response, and you will learn about it. So that's very, very important. You have to talk about things and see what are the real problems.
Professor, I think that's a good message for us to close.
Okay, sorry, I understand you wanted like some futuristic point, but I didn't think in that terms, and it's a good thing because you promote me to think about that. So these are good potential
multidisciplinary discussions.
Yes, absolutely.
No. No, I mean, I don't want to take too much of your time. Just a big fan of the work you do. So, it was an honor for me to have this conversation, and hopefully one day I'll see them in Greece, and or maybe one day I'll get to meet you in person. So, Professor,
no, if you come to Belgrade, please write. We can go to grab a coffee.
That sounds like a good plan. I appreciate it. Thank you very much for joining.
Okay, thank you very much.